Hey, you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Ali, your favorite eccentric SLO-mad. How are you guys doing? Today, y'all, we are talking about luxuries that you would be more prone to get outside of the United States. So, why leave the US? Is the topic on everybody's mind. And if I leave the US, where am I going and what's so much better everywhere else? All right, so let's start off with basics. But before we jump right in, if you guys are new to my channel, planning some travel, wanting to plan travel, want to really see what this travel thing is, because everybody's talking about leaving. Where we going? Where we going? How we getting there? What's so much better? Why is this that? We're going to talk about that today. If this is your first time, please click the subscribe button, notification bell, leave me a comment, and let's get into it. If you are a repeater, a returner, you're a loyal fan of Where's Ali, thank you and welcome back. So, why are we talking about leaving the United States? Well, for me, this is not a new topic of conversation, especially if you follow me, you know this. I have been traveling the world, parading around to different countries for quite some time, and even more so in the past 6 years. The past 6 years, I left the United States. I left my corporate job. Of 19 years. An IT six-figure paying job, and set sail, and I'm out here figuring it out as we go. Don't have everything planned, and yes, I know everybody can't do things the same way that I did it or other people are doing it, but I want to just put the information out here for you guys so that you can start to make educated decisions based on real life information. So if you look at my channel and you look at my playlist, I playlist from a number of countries and just some of the stuff, I don't necessarily show a lot of glam. I don't show, not that I don't have videos of cool things, because I suck at editing and getting things out there, which is why we're live today, because I made a video about this and never finished editing it. It's sitting in my CapCut getting edited. And I was like, y'all like the lives better anyway, so let's go live. Let's talk about it. But I don't necessarily show a lot of the glam. I don't show a lot of what we would consider to be like touristy type fun stuff that you do when you go on vacation once a year, or that you do back at home when it's somebody's birthday or it's a holiday, Mother's Day. Everybody, them spa certifications be coming out big time on Mother's Day, don't they? Right? And say for fathers, you want to go to Top Golf or something like that, or just like do some cool sports type things. But in the US, things are an arm and a leg. We haven't figured out how to balance that price out just yet in the United States. And you see people doing this stuff all the time. What if the stuff that you see people doing on vacation that you think is vacation-based stuff, or stuff that if you have a lot of money, which is why I call it basic luxuries, because once you leave and you're in places that people have told you for centuries are third world, but the basic things that you are working for to have on a birthday or on a holiday are regular occurrences in other countries. And not to say that the local people there can afford them, because 9 times out of 10 they can't, but I'm going to tell you about a few places that offer similar services for locals. It's just a slightly different experience, right? Just so you can see how gypped you're getting. Y'all getting gypped in the United States. I was getting gypped too, so don't be mad. Don't be mad at me. We're all getting gypped, and it doesn't have to be that way. That's a conversation for another day, how we can invoke change. And maybe I'll leave a comment or something in the description to talk about just a basic thing that you guys can do to kind of help facilitate having things in your communities that are people driven. Okay, so let's get into it. I'm just going to run through a couple things and ask you, have you ever thought about having a chef on a weekly basis, even on a daily basis? Have you ever thought about having a chef? Have you ever thought about eating out every day? Some people already do, but I'm talking about stuff that is actually not too bad health-wise, depending on how you eat. Have you ever thought about getting a massage at least once a week? The full body, an hour massage, acupuncture, a Pilates class, paragliding. Paragliding maybe once a month. Because you know you can get your certification after 10 jumps. So in less than a year, if you only did it once a month, you could have this too. What else? Hold on. Reasonable cost of living, basics. Safety, basics. Peace of mind, basic. Quality of life, basic. Work-life balance, basic. Luxuries, nails, getting your nails done. Ladies, getting your braids. I got locks, but getting your braids done, refreshed, whatever, and not paying, getting the boho locks and all of that without paying $400 or $500, $600. I mean, depending on the length, you might be paying a little bit more, but those are just a few, just a few things that we call luxuries. Now I'm gonna throw out some other things that we do with our kids, and we highlight it as our annual family trip: Disneyland or Disney World, Sea World, amusement parks, going to a hotel that has a water park in it, and you're paying $130 a night for it or something. Because that's a luxury. That's something that you do on occasion. There's so many other things. And I probably have to show video so you can see what these things actually look like. In the US, oftentimes this stuff feels like anomalies. It feels like you gotta be wealthy to have it. Oh, that's what rich people do. Oh, butlers. Did I say butler already? Chefs, nannies, housekeepers. Yeah, I didn't go. Basic luxuries. And I know a lot of these are considered luxuries because I have examples of different countries that I've been in where people just assume a driver. People just assume you don't have a driver. No, I'm not rich. And then you're like, in what we've been told is a third world country and everybody has a driver. Nobody drives. People drive. But a shopper. Somebody is in the store with you that gets the stuff that you need. All right, so let's dig into this list because I know, and I wish I had, I wish I could edit and chat at the same time. And I wish I could put this on my screen so y'all could just see what I'm talking about when you pop in. Maybe I'll see if I can put it in the chat. All right, so let's talk about some. Let's go to the basic things. You know, why people tend to think everybody is leaving the U.S. Cost of living. Well, okay, that's a shoe-in. that is real. And so let's talk demographics. If y'all are in whatever demographic, age demographic you are, and you don't mind sharing, like by decades, if you're 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, or 60 and above, 60 to 70, 70 and above. So whatever bracket you're in, if you could type that in the comments, I would love to know where you sit. And the reason that is somewhat important is because it kind of dictates probably where you fall in this economic structure right now, right? And whether or not this economic structure is already impacting you, about to impact you, you know, or you're just like, I quit, I'm out, you know, already, right? And I find that it might be harder for people who are already in, who are like kind of in that middle where there's like, I'm a gap year person, I'm a gap age person, I consider myself. I am already technically retired from the corporate ideal. I mean, I work, do different things when it's necessary, but I don't have a full-time corporate job anymore, right? And I'm not retirement age, nor do I have a pension from, you know, military pension or any other pension for that matter. No social security, no unemployment, none of that. So I'm right in that middle. So I'm in the prayer mode where all of my years of working, you know, 6-figure salary, I should have a great Social Security when it's time for me to claim Social Security. Praying that it's still there and we don't have to fight that fight. But that's where the cost of living conversation comes in. Where do you fit in that? Are you in the space right now where you're barely making it, or you're the 20 to 30 and you're graduating college or didn't go to college and you're living with parents or family or friends or whatever, and you know, want to venture out, want to move on your own or whatever? First, I'm going to say something, and I'm just going to leave it at this. If you've got people that will allow you to stay with them and you're doing the right thing, not making their life more difficult with your presence, please take advantage of it. Let's go back to the olden day times, or how everybody else around the world functions in this space, and let's start doing some community living. Let's start saving some money and doing some community living, right? Whoever told us that everybody in the household, try not to make this political, but that everybody in the household is supposed to work and have their, not work, you should work, but should have their own place, and everybody's paying $1,000 a month rent, and that's low end. Everybody got their own car, their own full set of appliances, all this stuff. Each house has one. Sunflower seeds, you guys. It's so good. Each person has one in the family. Mark off how many brothers and sisters you have, and how many kids you have that have their own stuff. We're starting to just get back to this community thing without feeling like we're failures in my household. Of course, I'm abroad, and so it's a little bit different. You know, when you leave, you're kind of by yourself, but I'm finding my community elsewhere. But, you know, if you have an opportunity to save some money and start building that way, please take advantage of it, okay? All right. So cost of living becomes a big deal when you can't afford to live anymore. And I'm just talking about paying rent. Utilities are, in the United States, a thing that can get you kicked out of your house. You haven't paid your electric bill. Certain cities make it so you won't get kicked out, but there are enough of them that say, yeah, after you missed it maybe twice, you get a final notice, your landlord can kick you out. What if you could figure out a way to enjoy your salary that you have, or something equal to it, and live within your means? Just keep that in the back of your mind, because I know everybody's thinking about this. And it's not for everybody to want to get up and move, as my title suggests, leaving America for better things. I mean, we can fight for or go and live in rural areas, live in the boonies. It's still hard. It's still tough. Because even Walmarts are expensive now, right? For example, I went back to the States this past January, went into the store. I literally had maybe 5 things. And by 5 things, I don't eat meat. Not a lot of processed food. My stuff comes in bags though, nuts and stuff. But more fruit than anything else. And I literally had, I don't even know if I had 5 things. And I spent $60. My bag was like, no prescriptions. I'm not talking about anything outlandish. I think I got some coconut milk or coconut powder, some fruit, papaya, something. This is at Walmart. Some greens and some plant-based meat stuff, like some pea protein in a package. $60. And when I looked at the receipt, I was like, that was my first day back. And my mom even laughed. She was like, girl, I told you. Girl, I told you. And so now the big box stores like Sam's Club and Costco and stuff are doing better because people are buying in bulk because you think you're getting a savings. Well, that's only great if you're eating all the food, right? So anyway, I didn't have a month's worth of time to stay to make that make sense. So you go to a local store, which is supposed to be one of the cheaper ones, not Target, because we ain't shopping at Target anyway. Sprouts is not cheap anymore. I mean, I still like stuff from Sprouts. Whole Foods definitely isn't inexpensive. Trader Joe's ain't inexpensive. So I'm just saying, in all these things, those are the things that begin to add up. That's basic life, right? And so when you're at the grocery store and it costs that much, or you go to the pump to get gas, and your car now, 13-gallon tank costs you $80 to fill up. That's starting to be a problem. So let's talk about some of these things. Cost of living in and of itself, and I have a couple videos. I'm going to stream them to this after the fact. I have a couple videos for 2 countries, Thailand and Vietnam, where you could move and be comfortable. I didn't say luxury, like I'm in a 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath condo that looks like a house for house sit. I'm not renting it. It's a house sit. And then I'm also in a 1-bedroom condo for house sit. And you can have 1-bedrooms, you can have houses, there are luxury neighborhoods. One of the things that we're shown all the time is that when you move, you're not going to get the experience like you have in the States. And I will tell you this, y'all, when I go back to the States, it's one of the things that I always used to say makes the United States unique is our neighborhood, specifically suburban neighborhoods. You don't see that everywhere. You don't see, like, you may see neighborhood, you may see houses, but you don't necessarily see it the way that it is in the U.S. If you've lived in the Chicago suburb, or if you've lived in a Dallas suburb, or, Houston suburb, any metropolitan city, and then the suburbs of that, LA, New York is more like boroughs until you get like way out, and they have like the grassy yards and stuff. If you've never seen that, or you've only seen that like on Knox Landing, Dallas, the show. That's a normal way of life for most of us in the US. And so when I go back, I'm always like, gosh, it's just so nice to drive and see lawns and all that stuff. And most of the times when people show you living abroad, they show you big cities, like out my window, big city, right? It's great, huh? Look at those beautiful clouds over there. That's great. But beyond this area, or if I look right down, there's houses with pools all nestled in here, because you don't see like neck to neck buildings right here. There's gaps. That greenery down there, those smaller units, some are houses. So it's all in between. But there are actual suburban areas in this city that you can live in, and they literally look just like the United States. So I'm just going to throw that out there, because that's one of the things that a lot of people consider quality of life. Is I don't necessarily want to move to a beach city, because places like Phuket get hit with rain that most people don't want to deal with. Some people are okay with it, but if I'm going to live there for a year, I don't want to deal with that. They want the comforts of the city without living in the city. Well, we have that in other places. So I just want to throw out that myth, dispel this myth that the United States is the only place that has this type of environment, this type of living, right? That's the first thing. And then the cost that's associated with it is relative to where you're living. So you can actually stay. I know people who are renting a house for $145 a month. It's a traditional Thai house. It's got a full garden. It's got a cement fence, wall around it, right off of close to a BTS line. So it's probably about a 7-minute walk to the BTS line, through the neighborhoods, through alleys and stuff like that. You get used to that type of cultural living, but they have a house. They have a full house that they rented, and they found on Craigslist. I'm sorry, Facebook Marketplace, I think. Signed a 2-year lease agreement. They're set for 2 years at $145 a month. base rent. Is it perfect? No. But technically, if they knew they were going to stay and the owner wanted to let them do upgrades and stuff like that, they have enough land, because I've been there. They could build a pool if they wanted to. They can connect the outside areas to the inside. I mean, they could do quite a bit to it, and you're saving money. So I say all that to say, sometimes we have to think about the things that are not like top of mind when we consider moving to another place, when we consider relocating. When you hear people say get up and leave, and they're walking down the street and there's no sidewalks, that's the first thing you see is there's no sidewalk. There's no sidewalks. Why would I be walking in the middle of the street? A lot of places are like that. Even in Europe, there's not necessarily sidewalks. Go to Italy. There's stairs. Portugal, there's stairs, but there might not be sidewalks, So we have this fallacy around what good, safe, quality living is, and we base it on this impression that we have from, honestly, from the United States. We've glamorized the United States, and a lot of people, even us living, in the States, don't realize that we've been sold a dream as well, that just because you have a sidewalk and you have a lawn that somebody can come and mow for you, or you can buy all this equipment and mow it once a week yourself, you have all those things, you're still not at peace, right? And I'm not like assuming any of these things. I lived this life. I was a homeowner twice. I know people who do all these things on a regular basis every day and still are not fulfilled, right? So this is why people leave, because they're not fulfilled. or they're doing all these things, and the promise of the quality of life is fleeting, right? So define what your quality of life is, first of all. Then if you are looking at joining some of us out here exploring the world, ask yourself why. Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to join this group, this fantastic group of people who are living life on their terms? Why would you want to do that? Define that first, and then look and say, okay, where would I want to go? Y'all, I'm giving you the modules for my travel course. This is what you're going to go through when you get my travel course. Please click on the link and sign up and start taking the course, because it's all about you. It's all about you figuring out, why is this important to you? Why are these basic luxuries, what we call basic luxuries, the things that I listed in the first minute of this video, why are those things luxuries in one place for people who, quote unquote, at one time were making a good salary? You know, you're bringing in a decent amount of money monthly, annually, that you should be able to have some activities and, you know, gifts to yourself, gifts to others. You know, you start to dread holidays, or you only focus on days that people tell us that we're supposed to enjoy life. So you got to wait until this date pops up on the calendar before you buy something. You got to wait until this date pops up before you have a family dinner. What if you didn't have to save the entire year to do some of these things? You could actually go out. You could afford to go out and meet friends on a regular basis, have a cocktail or two, go to a yoga or Pilates class on a regular basis, sign up for a month's worth of classes. You could, you know, go to the park on a regular basis, and you don't have a car, but you get around very easy. You know, what if the basic things, the basic luxuries in life, and I know some people are like, let me finish it. What if the basic things, that we call luxuries in life, are things that you could obtain without thinking? They're available. If you want them, they're available. You walk out on the street, there's $300 baht, 399 baht, full body Thai massage for an hour. You want to know what that equates to? Let's get into some equations. Let's get into what some of these things break down to. 300, which is an average of what you should be paying in a basic center where they have massage chairs and stuff. So maybe not your own separate room that we're used to, but you could get, and this is if you're doing a dry massage, like with your clothes on, foot massage, something like that. But if you're getting an oil massage, you go into a back room. Starting at 300 baht, which is $12. 399 baht, or no, 399 is $12. 300 baht is $9, closer to $9. 250, which you can find on the coast, is around $8 for an hour massage. So I'll let you guys do the math on that, because even at Massage Envy in the United States, with a coupon, you spending $50. You might get a $30, but that's probably 30 minutes, maybe 45, right? Take that 30, divide that by even 10. That's 3 massages. So that's once a week with 1 week off, just for the price of one massage. So when we're talking about the quality of life, I'm talking about the things, not just the basic things that get all my bills. And so now that's existing, in my opinion. A lot of people have been doing that, even when I had money that I was saving, which has afforded me this life gallery, right? Because I was living below my means. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They don't want to talk about that. But those living below your means, they save for a rainy day. They save for a rainy day. But then I got to a point where I'm living out here, and I realized that my saving for a rainy day was every day somewhere else. But it wasn't so far fetched. It wasn't one of those cases like, a lot of times you think, oh gosh, I can't do a massage. I just did one last week. And then you remember, oh, it's only $10. I went to Cambodia last December, very similar to Vietnam and Thailand in terms of service costs and, luxuries. $8, $12 for an hour and a half. Full body in a luxury. We were in a touristy area. We was right around the corner from that main street where all the parties and stuff happen. Literally a beautiful multi-level spa service. They come in, they take your shoes, they give you your tea and your crumpets, walk you up to the room, do all this stuff. The music is, beautiful. $8, right? And you're just like, oh, okay. So I can do that on a regular basis, right? Now I know somebody's probably sitting on here going, yeah, but I'm digitizing. I just noticed I'm digitizing. I'm not quite sure why. So I'm going to hold on, y'all. I'm going to and just go to data. All right, let's see. Let's see if it clears up. And sometimes this happens. Oh, that's better. That's better. Okay. I gotta remember sometimes the Wi-Fi inside the houses is worse. But this is my data. We're gonna talk about that too, because I didn't even have that on the list. This is my data that I pay $15 a month for. Unlimited data, right? And I have videos that show you how to do that. For other countries, I don't know if I've done it for Thailand. I can do that too if you guys want to know how to just simply get that. And y'all, I'm overpaying. I'm overpaying at least about $3 a month minimum. And it's because I don't have a long-term contract. I just go in and pay for it because I don't know how long I'm going to be here, because I can come and go as I please, because I have the 5-year visa. All right, let's get back to talking about basic luxuries and stuff. So things like getting a massage, and this is even for men. So don't always think that these are things that women do. Men, you may not get massages in the US because the value. You might want to go golfing instead and stuff. Well, they have golf courses here. They're cheaper than the US. Not in every country, but I will say in Thailand, I've looked at some of the prices, and it's or comparable to going golfing if you found a golf course in the US that you like. But that's one of those things, that's one of those luxuries. It's like, I can't do that on a regular basis. What do you do then to relieve stress? What do you do to combat the overwhelming situations that you're in, on a regular basis? That's why when people go on vacation, they always say, God, it wasn't long enough. Because we have been trained to believe that we only get once a year, maybe 2 times a year, but once a year is the only amount of time that we're allocated to have peace of mind, to have quality of life, to have true work-life balance. Work-life balance isn't always the day-to-day stuff that, I go to work, I make my breakfast or whatever, get up, make my breakfast, work out, maybe go to work, drive, go to work 8 to 10 to 12 hours that day, drive back home, same commute, get ready for bed, do the same thing over. Don't have kids, don't have pets. Now add to that, don't have a significant other. Add to that, right? And so we consider work-life balance as this, I get to do all of those things, but now I get some vacation days in there, and I can call in and take off, or I can work from home, which I did for 12, 13 years, something like that. Or I get, my vacation days, I get an increase in salary so that now we can take that family vacation, but you're still only doing it once a year. Where these basic things that I listed, let's even throw in dental care, let's throw in medical care, let's throw in eye care. These basic things, they should be basics for us, especially if we're making the salaries that we're making. They should be basic. But in the United States, we barely can afford basic care, right? So, y'all are going to ask, somebody's going to get in the comments and go, yeah, but how do I earn money somewhere else? That's the first thing you need to do. You need to figure out how you're going to earn money someplace else. They're setting you up for it. Everything is digital. I know a lot of people have hands-on jobs. You got to figure it out. You got to start looking at, do the thing that, the very question that you're asking, type that in. I have this type of job. I'm a nurse practitioner. How can I make money abroad? If I want to go and work abroad, just type that in. I'm going to give y'all that prompt. That's very broad. Say what you do right now or what skill set you have right now. This is the area that I've heard of, or I went on vacation over here. Would this be something that I could pick up or do online from the U.S., work for a U.S. company, but live somewhere else? And start going down the rabbit hole, you guys. You got to do a little bit of work. Yeah, everything isn't perfect, but a lot of people who are showing you this living abroad thing are also doing it willy-nilly. We're coming up with multiple streams of income to do different things, because some of us don't want to go back into the corporate space, or we only want to go back into it if it's a perfect situation. That's probably me. Like, I would potentially go back into a corporate space abroad. I think I definitely would, but it needs to be kind of set up the way that I need it to be set up. Or until then, I figure out how to make those ends meet, right? And so I do different things to supplement and make the ends meet. But within that, I still get to take advantage of what we call luxuries. So let's just go down a list of luxuries, y'all, because we've talked about the basic stuff. Just remember, basics is cost of living, safety, peace, quality of life, work-life balance. That's basic. That's just living. That's existing. Right? We want to get beyond that. We want to get to the point where the stuff that we do on vacation is the basic stuff that we have access to. The luxury stuff we do on vacation is the basic stuff that we have access to on a daily, weekly, or at least a monthly basis, right? Massages. Pretty much anywhere in the world outside of the United States, you can get an inexpensive massage. You can get an expensive one too. Even in places like Thailand, yes, you can go to a place that charges $2,500. I was in Chiang Mai at a resort. Some of our Thai friends own this resort, and I paid $2,300. So I paid about $70. Yeah, it was about $70. But I got a 3-hour, 3 or 4 tier. So it was a soak, a scrub, a oil massage, and then one other treatment. I have 4 treatments for 3 hours in a resort. In the US, that would be $250 to $500. So that's not something that I would do every week. And I didn't want to pay $30, I think it was 30 or 40 for a basic massage. I was like, if I'm going to pay that, then I might as well get this full package and do things that I haven't done. You know, the scrub, the chocolates, the chocolate mask, and different things like that. But it's still a bargain. It's much cheaper and high quality. And you get people, typically, I've never had an experience where the people, let me say this. I've never had an experience where the staff was a problem. Didn't want to touch my skin. You can tell when somebody's just kind of doing something they don't. I've never experienced that. I've never in my life. And my brother even went with me when we were in Cambodia, and we went. We were there for 4 days. We got a massage 2 days in a row. The day before we left, and the morning we were leaving. So, you guys, these things, and our total cost was $42 for 4 massages. I feel like we got 6, but 4 massages, $42 between 2 people is, I think, what it costs. So anyway, massage is a thing. Ladies, nails. You want to get your nails done in the U.S. and I have tips on and gel set, and I got the cat eye thingy. You know that. The iridescent. Isn't that beautiful? Anyway, I think I may have paid 12. I paid more than that because I had to remove everything from before and then have some adjustments made on some of the ones that I could keep and kind of start a whole new set. So it was closer to $28 for this particular one. But when I go back and get them done, it'll just be a removal of the gel and re-gel it, and that'll be like at $3.99 plus a removal, which is $100. So $4.99 is $12 for a full set. A full set. My nails are growing lovely underneath, right? So ladies, we always ask that. And you're like, when I'm in the States, I pay $60 to $70 to get my nails done. Nails for my pedicure and manicure, and it's a dry pedicure. So without the foot spa, that's a different amount. They started splitting that out. But to do all of it, last time I did it, I paid $1,400 for everything. Removal of all the stuff off my feet, to not the scrub, but the pedicure, re-gel, all that, clean everything up, and my nails was about $1,400. And so that's like $40. It was $38, and I tipped very, very nicely, right? And that was just to kind of reset everything. And I love this person. So this is the person I go to all the time. Like this year, she's the only person that I've gone to, right? So how often, ladies, are you sitting and saying, I want to be able to get my nails done? And maybe you got the money. Maybe you set the $100 aside, once or twice a month to get, your nails done and stuff like that. That's great. But what if you could take $100 and do it twice? So that's 2 months, because mine lasts for 2 months. My pedicures last 3 to 4 months, right? What if you could spread that out? So I'm saying that to say it's not about there's this idea of, that's cheap, you're going to spread it out. But if you're sitting and going, how am I going to be able to afford, maybe I have this much saved, but I want to, have access to these things. I don't want to go somewhere else and be living the same way, Well, this is now what $100 can afford you. This is now what, in terms of, the aesthetic type things that we want to do. These are still luxuries, but they're basic luxuries. We're not talking about, renting a Lamborghini for a month. We're talking about basic care, basic self-care stuff. All right, so we got nails, we got massages, we have chefs, right? We see people go on vacation and they get a chef. And we think that that's expensive, because it usually is. If it comes with the Airbnb that you're renting or whatever, it's usually expensive. Well, I'll tell you guys that in South Africa, we have a chef. We now have 2 that we go to. And it's cheaper than going out to eat, for sure, with quality food, quality setup, quality experience, all of that. Here in Thailand, I've never used a chef, but most people have housekeeping. Um, and they come twice a week. And these are even places where they have one bedroom. You know, they have somebody come and clean twice a week. Because the cost of paying someone for 1 month is less than, it's, it is about a third of what, or at least a minimum, yeah, about a third of what it costs to pay for one cleaning in the United States for a house. If you have like a Mary Maids or any one of those types of services in the US, most people clean their own house. So when I talk to people, even when I was in Africa, and they were like, well, don't you have a caretaker home? Don't you have a driver? Don't you have a butler? Like, who does this stuff for you? And we're like, we do it all ourselves. So what if we didn't need all these, you know, quotable words and mottos and things that we aspire to have if it was everyday living? What if, you know, what we consider a luxury isn't necessarily a luxury? If the community that you live in values you as a person and offers these things that then create livelihood for some people who provide these services, as well as balance for those who need the services. So I'm gonna give you guys a couple things before I get off the massage and the nails and all of that. So massages around the world are massages. Then there's these things called hammams. So if you've ever been in certain countries, I'll say it like that because then I'll throw people off. Hammams are like steam bathrooms, basically. Bath areas. They're usually stone, and you get showered, you get bubble bath, lathered, foam bathed, you get washed, like Olga washes all your innards. Somebody does all that for you, washes your scalp. And then you can sit in the spa. There's other treatments that you can have after, but a hammam is ultimately like a bath, for lack of better words. And back in the olden days, they were big bath houses, like bathrooms, where there was like a, you know, people didn't have tubs or the use of water to bathe in at home, because water was a luxury. Running water was a luxury. So the way that we circumvent like this whole luxury thing versus locals not having access is, I've been in places like Morocco. I think Turkey has it in some of the more local areas and stuff like that. You'll find it. But Greece also does very good hammam. So the 3 places that I have had hammam, 4, because I also did it in Albania, which is a Balkan country. I did it in Turkey, Greece, and in Rhodes, Greece, and in Morocco. And again, hammams are spaces where there is someone doing the full service. So when you think of somebody bathing you, what do you think of? You think of like colonial times when they're in the tub. You think of Bridgerton, and somebody's washing that person and doing all this stuff, and you're like, yeah, how do you get that? I was like, a butler and a maid service and a concierge and all this stuff put together. But on average, low tier, mid, and high, lowest is local usually, and they have separate bathhouses. It's like going to, and I did Ecuador. Ecuador offers something like this, where they have the hot springs, and they have a hot spring for touristy people, and then they have the hot springs for the locals. And there's different pools. They're made up differently. They look differently, give that Western feel. And their price points are quite different. Still cheaper, but more expensive than the local experience. A lot of times the local experience starts around, I don't even want to say $7, because I don't even think it's that high. When I was in Morocco, we did a tour and we got to see where the locals go for their hammams. And the way that it was explained is they go like once a week on like family day, and that's when the wives, the mothers, take their kids to the hammams. They sit in the pool and bathe, and the kids play and do whatever. But that's gossip day. That's the day that they go and they get to gossip and catch up. Their kids get to have fun, and they call it bathing at the same time. The experience on the mid-level and then the high level is a little bit different because it's someone else washing you. So that's the experience that we receive. And it's still, I think I've paid somewhere around, maybe, it wasn't even $30 in Morocco. It was less than, we were in a very nice, it wasn't the top of the line, but it was a very nice spa that we went to. It was between $15 or $20 and we got the full package. I've done, the one I did in Rhodes, I think I paid $20 maybe. And then I got my nails done afterwards. Nail thing wasn't the greatest, but they did a pretty good job for the price. Turkey, I mean, so it's one of those things where you have to experience it. But assuming that it's out of reach for locals, the example I'm giving, the reason I'm giving this example around the spa treatments and things like that, and how there's a variation for local people as well as an upscale or more upscale options for people who are used to a different type of experience. The reason I'm saying that is because their community, their country, their city, their government, whatever, values the everyday people who make life happen, make the wheel turn, values them, and so therefore creates these spaces where they can take advantage of said luxuries as well, right? So that's a work-life balance. That's a quality of life that I think we don't really get in the U.S. We have very true disparities when it comes to activities and access. So when you start thinking about, oh, well, somebody, I don't know, taking a boat out, or someone paragliding, or someone going to an amusement park on a regular basis, or we won't talk about shopping because shopping is of its own thing, but when you go to other places you can buy more stuff. It may not be I can go down a rabbit hole. I'm gonna pull myself out of a rabbit hole. The point being is that people aren't only leaving the United States or wherever, because it's also EU, it's also the UK, it's also Australia, it's also Canada. It's these Western countries. Many times people are leaving these countries because there's no enjoyment. The best benefit is that you get paid. But you get paid an amount that you think is great, but you're barely making it. And then you travel somewhere and you spend an exponential amount of money. So in your mind, that's out of reach. And then you start seeing all these people like myself who walk around on a daily basis living life, and you're like, wait a minute, what's the truth? Well, there's a balance in between all of these things. All of these things can be true at the same time. It's digging in enough to see, where do you fit? Where can you fit? Do you want something different? And I'm not saying everybody can get up and just mass exodus. So if that's your response, if that's your, like, when you're watching this and you're like, this video isn't for you. This video is really to set a stage, put a placeholder in a space that you've thought about, that you've wanted, you've considered, but you really are struggling with finding the benefit for. I'm sharing the benefits. Have you ever wanted a chef? Have you ever wanted a butler? Have you ever wanted to get your nails done on a monthly, bi-weekly, monthly basis? And you can do it for a month if you go to places that do it right, and you don't, and you know they don't mess it up, so you got to come back every week. Massages, you're stressed out and you would really like to get a massage at least once a month. And you come to a place like this and you can get one every week for $12. You get one every week for $12 for a month. That's 48 bucks plus tip. Still advise you to tip. They never ask, but it's definitely appreciated. Extra 100 baht is $3. It's $3. And they are very happy, right? Housekeepers, added luxury, but basics, even in Africa. I don't necessarily agree with what is being paid, but that's where you can tip, right? If you feel like you've asked your housekeeper to do a little bit more, or the rate that everybody charges, because you kind of stay within this rate, everybody has a certain rate, for twice a week is usually how they do it, and they come twice a week and they add in doing your laundry, cleaning, taking out the garbage. If you've got pets, they will do the cat litter, they will feed the cats for you, but they do everything that you need to have done. You can ask them to do extra things, and usually they'll just do them because it's a part of whatever, and they split the stuff between the 2 days a week if you have them. And again, that is almost like getting your nails done, guys. So driver in Africa, everybody has a driver. Of course, not everybody, but I'm talking about people who are a little bit more established. They use drivers. They hire drivers. They have a driver. I've looked in some places and I've seen people in the store, they don't push the cart. And yes, it might not be the thing that, I mean, my face frowned up at it. It's like having a butler. And so they go down the aisles and it's not a person shopping for them. It's not like a Grab shopper or anything like that. It's somebody who comes with you, who lives in your house, probably potentially a nanny or somebody who does that type of, they've hired for that type of work. Is they buy everything while you're in the store, telling them what you want. They bag it up, put it away. You know, they might be live-in staff. Most of the houses have caretaker homes where somebody literally lives on your property, manages your pets and the gardening and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, when I say, honestly, they get paid pennies, but they're given room and board. So that's supposed to be one of those incentives. But these are common things in other countries. I don't know if I talked about the African part in other videos. I possibly have. Check my playlist. Nothing has changed, right? That is something that is still a regular basic thing that we would consider a luxury. We would consider, we have lawn care people come by once a week, twice a month. I used to have somebody come and mow twice a month, and I lived abroad. And I was paying, I guess, $80 a month plus tips, so $100 a month. That's more than what they pay to have a housekeeper, a person who, caretaker, who manages the garden and all of that. Should they be getting paid more? Probably. But you have to work within the confines of the culture. You can always tip extra. You can do different things, maybe offer food. My caretaker, when I lived in this 4-bedroom, 3-level house in Kenya, in Diani Beach, I had a caretaker, and he was very young, so I actually showed him how to do a lot. I showed him how to make beds and the proper way to stage things and clean things, because he really didn't have the experience, but he was hired to do all of this work, and he didn't really know how to do all of this stuff. But I invited him over every time I cooked. He showed me how to make ugali. I'm saying it right. And then I added a twist to it. So a lot of people, I made a video, they're like, well, that's not it anymore. That's Ali's such and such. But different experiences, learning cultures and stuff like that. it was an opportunity to do that, and not create imbalance in the structure and the culture that was already set up of how much he gets paid and what his responsibilities are, but making it so that I didn't feel like I was taking advantage, right? So there's different things that we can do. And when you're in spaces, I'm kind of throwing out these ideas because I know I always get someone who wants to throw out, the contradictory statements as to yeah, but yeah, buts are only valuable if there needs to be a hard stop and something. If the yeah, but is because you're fearful and you want to create this angst for other people so that they don't live a quality life, so they don't have a work-life balance, so they don't have a life of ease, so they don't have peace, those things I won't tolerate, because we have enough on our own with starting, with feeling we can actually achieve or accomplish something or do something. And so when you constantly have someone who's always saying, yeah, but you can, yeah, but not everybody, yeah, you're a propagandist person that is basically telling people that something different is not only not acceptable, it's not realistic. And I want us to get beyond that, because if one group's heaven and happiness is here in this space that they're living in now, it should be afforded to everyone, should have the access to what some people call heaven and happiness. And sometimes that means disrupting this yellow brick road that they're telling you to follow and walk in the grass. And so I'll throw out a few other things. I've kind of talked about Southeast Asia, how everything is so reasonable. I've thrown in Africa, and I've thrown in a little bit of Europe as well. Europe and West Asia, being Turkey. Turkey is both European and West Asia. And you can find really good deals and things like this in places in Italy, as well as places in Spain, off the beaten path a little bit more, but you can find them. The reason I love Southeast Asia is because I can walk down a tourist street and get the same quality for the same price. Yes, they're high rises. There's places they try to do, checking stuff and making you stand in line at a door and pay a cover fee. They do stuff like that because there are people who want to say they have that experience, because that's like, this mental way of life. But for those of us who simply I want to be able to experience things that I dreamt of doing in the United States and could not afford to do, at least not quality. I want to be able to do those things. I want to have them. I want to be able to do that with my children or my significant other. Southeast Asia, Thailand specifically, as well as Vietnam and Cambodia. But Vietnam and Thailand are very high on that list of places where you can get these things and enjoy those things. Malaysia, I did not have things done. Malaysia is more expensive than Thailand, in my opinion, as well as a few other things. Why I don't put Malaysia on my top list. And Singapore is just way more expensive. Singapore is just like it's a metropolitan just explosion of everything, and it's more expensive. South Korea is probably in the neck of the woods with Malaysia and higher in Thailand, and Japan is on the higher end. Japan is closer to price points in Singapore. Yes, you can get all of these types of services, and quality-wise, it's going to be about the same. as anywhere you go. It's just the price point. Another place that a lot of people go to is Indonesia. Really cheap. You can get a 3-person, 4-person massage cheaper than a 30-minute massage in the United States. And it's not exploitation from a consumer standpoint. I say tip. It might feel like you're underpaying somebody, but you're paying, as long as you're paying your rate. I say just don't go in and haggle. When something, a service that you would pay $60 for base before adding anything is $12 somewhere else, we should not be haggling. We should not be haggling anything, okay? So, y'all, leaving the U.S. is not just about, I found a 28 square meter apartment. And 28 square meters, y'all, is like 300 square feet. It's like 300 square feet. That's not that big. Average, that's like maybe a double size of a hotel room. Average 1-bedroom apartment, 500 square feet, 600 square feet, something like that. So you would need about 42 square meters. So from that perspective, $500. Accommodations, you may be kind of netting what you get in the U.S., but it's proximity. Some people say you can only find it in areas outside of the main areas, and most people want to live outside the main areas. And when they say that, though, depending on where you are, that's why it's so important to know, to explore before you set roots, especially if you're picky about things. And even if you're not picky, if there is an expectation or anything, you should kind of know before you get into it, right? But you can have a lot of these things like nestled in these advanced spaces without being out in the boonies. Like in the States, the only way you're going to find $500 a month rent is if you in a podunk town. Real talk. Not with no roommates. And it's got doors and walls and windows. And running water. And more than one plug. And it's not a Wi-Fi dead spot. Right? So, I kind of want to dispel that, the caveat, the idea around people showing these really small apartments that you would not normally rent in the U.S., but people are renting smaller places in New York and paying 20 times the amount. There are people who are paying $1,200 for 16 square feet in New York. That's like 100 square feet, or 16 square meters. That's like 100 square feet. 150 square feet. For an entire apartment. There are places, and I don't know if this stuff is still real or if they, like, Mom Donnie or whoever has, like, cut down on these people renting closets for $1,000 a month. I don't know. When you compare it to something like that, it's a bargain. It's a great deal, right? So now all you got to do is figure out how to transfer your money that you're making from there to here, right? How do you do that? Maybe you start off with a month a year, 2 months, 6 months out of the year, right? And so that brings us into a DTV. So again, we don't need visa stuff in the U.S. as we are citizens. But there are a lot of places that we can go on a tourist visa, but if you need to work, you need to be looking at places with digital nomad visas. Thailand has the DTV, which is basically the digital nomad visa. It's a remote visa, which allows you to stay 180 days at a time with 90-day check-ins. You can come and go as many times as you please. It's multi-entry. There is no amount of time that you have to be out. Some border entry places are a little bit more strict and more difficult. So I always suggest, if you're anywhere near those end dates, fly out through DMK or BKK, which is one of the airports in Thailand, you usually won't have a problem, right? Start looking at longer term visas so that you can do the work and you're not going to these places and doing the very thing that we are criminalizing people for in the United States. The rest of the world has rules as well. But those things are part of the ease and the luxuries and why I'm leaving one place for another. You can't ignore the regulations that are necessary for you to sustain the life that you want, or create the life that you want. Because typically 20, 30, 40 years old, even 50 to 60, you're not getting any compensation. You're unless you're getting pension. You were in the military, you're getting pension, but Social Security hasn't kicked in. So what are you doing to supplement your income or continue your income? Well, technically, you aren't supposed to be working when you're going to places. And some places are cracking down, like Bali and China are starting to crack down and say, well, if you're making videos, you're creating content while you're here, you're working. So you got to be aware of these things. So I still feel like Thailand is one of those places where it's pretty easy to manage that. Get your long-term visa. It's good for 5 years. Mexico, Colombia. Stay tuned. I'm going to be rolling out 10 top countries for women over 50. Please pay attention for that notification to come out, because it's going to have some really good information. It's for people wanting to relocate or stay in places 6 months or longer. So there are benefits to leaving the United States or any Western place that go beyond the cost of living. That usually is the very first thing that grabs people's attention. Is, oh, I can go somewhere, I can get this 4-bedroom house and pay only $1,200 a month, and my electric bill comes up to $60 a month, $80 a month for a 4-bedroom. My water bill is $12, $6 a month in a 3 or 4 bedroom, right? I got a pool. I'm in a house and I have my own pool, right? What if the things that you consider luxury can be basics? What if the experiences that you want to give your kids, that you got to tell them they got to wait for, that you have to work so hard 70, 80 hours a week and never see your kids, to give them this once a year? What if it could be every day? What if you could afford some of these things for your parents? Even if it's only a portion of a certain time of the year, certain number of months a year. Maybe it's not a full time, but you could help create this experience for them, right? People look forward to retirement. Sometimes it's just to sit around, to have peace. But what if you're in a space that you can't even go outside and enjoy yourself and relax because of all the stuff that's happening in the world? We're in a very climactic space right now. It's not comfortable for everybody. So if you're stressed all the time, what if you could create the quality of life that we see in the movies? Freedom, peace, safety, comfort, very little fear, if any. What if you could do that? Would you? That's my ending question. So anyway, you guys, yes. Ultimately, I leave the U.S. for basic luxuries, things that I can then achieve and have on a regular basis without waiting for a vacation once a year. You want to do the same? Leave me a comment. Let me know. Check out my description. I'm going to have my travel course in there. Purchase the travel course. Get started. Figuring out where you want to go, why you want to go, and what are some of the best places. Nobody can tell you. Pictures are only pictures. Remember, we have AI, so everything can be generated and created to look a certain way, right? Even I could take, it's just, so you're gonna have to at some point want to figure these things out for yourself. You're gonna want to look and dig into things yourself. Every bit of information that somebody shares with you, unless it's really underground, but like stuff about moving and things like that, and what things look like and what the atmosphere, the best decision maker is going to be you. Someone else is only opening the door, telling you what's possible, and even their experience is not duplicated across. My experience is not the same as another person that moves abroad, lives abroad, for various reasons. So if that stuff is important to you and you really want to experience this quality of life that people have told you you've got to wait for until, the rapture, get in my comment section. Let's talk. Do a one-on-one or get the travel course. Let's start living life, y'all. All right, you guys, I'm going to get out of here. Y'all know the drill. Thanks for hanging out with me. Make sure you click subscribe, like, and share, and comment. And I'll see y'all next time. Y'all know the drill. Toodles and noodles. Peace and hair grease.